Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, this is from Van Houston Academy. Overview of private schools. The reason I'm looking into this is I want to know who regulates private schools. And you guys, it's not good. It's not good. I believe a lot of these agencies in general are just money laundering, to be honest. Just like a lot of nonprofit boards. Do private schools have to follow state guidelines? Overview of private schools. And again, I think about Delphi Academy was the other one. Well, Delphi Academy was one of the main ones. What's that other one that's located in California and New Mexico? I think it is the Delphi Academy. And then Scientology had the ABC school in Los Angeles. Applied Scholastics, I'm sure that it's riddled with abuse. I've just been having a hard time finding it, but you guys know. Well, and a really easy way to erase abuse is just don't report it, right? It's poor children. Overview of private schools. The decision to send your child to a private school is a significant one. Also, remember the predators, you guys. Often driven by a desire for a specific educational philosophy, religious instruction. That's how Scientology gets around it. And a lot of them. Or a more tailored learning environment. While private schools offer a unique educational experience, a common question arises. Do private schools have to follow state guidelines? The answer, like many legal and educational matters, is nuanced. It's not a simple yes or no. You guys know where that's going. This comprehensive guide delves into the complexities of state oversight and private school autonomy, empowering you, don't you love that word? While the children get abused, with the knowledge to make informed decisions for your child's education. Understanding the legal landscape, state versus private education. The U.S. Constitution, the one that LAPD is not, they don't seem to understand it, grants states the power to oversee education, creating a system where each state establishes its own educational standards and regulations. These regulations often codified in state law or through State Board of Education policies. Remember how much I scream about Board of Education? Typically encompass curriculum requirements, outlining the subject schools must teach and the skills students are expected to acquire at each grade level. Teacher certification, dictating the qualifications and certifications teachers must possess to be eligible to teach in the state. And again, we know that Scientology schools, they're not certified. And that's no shade to them. They might have something beneficial to teach children. But, there has to be, I'm not a person who believes in a lot of, federal or state, interference in things. But there's got to be some oversight. And this is why, imagine the children that were abused at the Delphi Academy. And even, I watched a video the other day about one of the New York schools. I don't remember the name of it, the New York school, but they had found over 100, something like over 120 teachers were were sexually abusing the children? I mean, come on. And of course, they did the same thing. Oh, they fired them, or they allowed them to resign. That's against the law. Okay, I'll get back to the article. Health and safety standards. Establishing guidelines for safe learning environments. Imagine that, you guys. Does that mean keeping pedos out of them? Including building codes. Yeah, all this other stuff seems to be way more important. Building codes, emergency procedures, and student health records. Testing and assessment. Mandating standardized testing to measure student progress and hold schools accountable for academic outcomes. Public schools, as recipients of state funding, must adhere to all state guidelines. Private schools, however, occupy a different space in the educational landscape. I can say that again. The autonomy of private schools. What do I talk about with secrecy, you guys? Secrecy, secrecy, secrecy? Where flexibility lies. Private schools, by virtue of the funding model, primarily relying on tuition fees and donations, enjoy a greater degree of autonomy from state control. This independence allows them to develop unique curricula like LRH policies or courses. Private schools have the freedom, this should be good, to design curricula aligned with the specific educational philosophies or religious beliefs, like LRH policies. And by the way, LRH believed that kissing a 7-year-old girl on the lips passionately, that she needed to just take it, if you guys get what I'm saying. Because she had all of her sexual experiences from past lives, that she should be okay with that. For example, a Montessori school might prioritize hands-on learning, while a religious school may integrate faith-based teachings into its curriculum. Let's just call it what it is. It's indoctrination. All of it. It's all indoctrination. Wakey, MF, wakey. Set their own admission standards. Unlike public schools, which operate on a geographic attendance zone system, private schools can establish their own admissions criteria, selecting students based on academic performance, entrance exams, or other factors. Hire teachers with varying certifications. Some private schools might prioritize subject matter expertise over traditional state-mandated teaching certifications, allowing them to recruit experts in specific fields. Who regulates them? You guys getting what I'm saying? You see how the predators get in? However, this autonomy does not equate to complete exemption from state regulations. When state guidelines apply to private schools, despite their independence, private schools are not entirely exempt from state oversight. The extent of state regulation varies, but common areas where private schools must often comply include. However, this autonomy does not equate to complete exemption from state regulations. Sorry, I read that twice. When state guidelines apply to private schools, despite their independence, private schools are not entirely exempt from state oversight. The extent of state regulation varies, but common areas where private schools must often comply include health and safety. Ensuring the well-being of students is paramount, except when pedos infiltrate. Most states mandate minimum health and safety standards for all schools, including private institutions. This can include fire safety codes, building inspections, and requirements for background checks on school staff. I just wanted to add in there, I was looking to find private schools that had been shut down. I didn't get a lot of information. One UK school had shut down and they didn't explain why. And then another one was shut down for food poisoning. Now, of course, food poisoning is important, right? I understand that. But let's just be honest. Why aren't authorities in various agencies shutting down these schools that are infiltrated with pedophiles, perpetrators? They should be shut down. And the perpetrators should be sent to jail. Period. End of story. Non-discrimination. Private schools, while having the ability to set admissions criteria, you guys know this is where some things get an in, right? Got to read between the lines. Generally cannot discriminate based on race, which doesn't exist, by the way. Race doesn't exist. Religion, national origin, or disability, as per federal law. They may also be subject to state laws prohibiting discrimination based on other protected characteristics, such as sexual orientation or gender identity. Gender identity just came in, like in 2020, when the pandemic was going on? It must be a coincidence, right? Minimum operational standards. Some states impose minimal operational standards on private schools to ensure a baseline level of educational quality. Oh, that's funny. This may include requirements for record keeping. Oh, what was it I was just reading? Sorry, I keep interrupting you guys. I was just reading where Sheriff's Department didn't have any data on rapes of women or something. Anyways, those numbers can always be fixed. Attendance policies are minimum instructional hours. Navigating the variations, researching your state and school. The specific guidelines that apply to private schools may vary significantly from state to state. It's essential for parents considering private education to conduct thorough research. You guys know the Scientology parents don't do any of that. They just hand their kids over, just like a sacrifice. Consult your state Department of Education. Each state's Department of Education website is a valuable resource, often providing specific information about private school regulations. Oh, that might be interesting to go to. Contact the school directly. Now, you know what the Scientology schools now. Don't hesitate to reach out to the private schools you're considering. Request copies of their handbooks, ask about their accreditation status, and inquire about their compliance with state guidelines. You guys know Scientologies don't comply with anything. Understanding the interplay between state guidelines and private school autonomy is crucial. By being informed and asking the right questions, you can make confident choices about your child's education. What if they're an adult in a small body? What then? Department of Education. Frequently asked questions about, do private schools have to follow state guidelines? 1. Do private schools have to follow the same curriculum as public schools? You guys know all of it's indoctrination, right? Think of Pink Floyd's We Don't Need No Education. Listen to that. Answer, generally no. Private schools often have the flexibility, it's a carte blanche, to design their own curricula. which may differ significantly from the state-mandated curriculum. Some private schools may choose to align closely with state standards, especially if they prepare students for standardized tests required for college admissions. Others may adopt alternative educational philosophies, such as Montessori or Waldorf education, which have unique curricular approaches. 2. Are private school teachers required to be certified by the state? You guys are going to love this. Teacher qualification is another crucial factor for parents evaluating educational quality. Answer: it depends on the state and the specific school. Some states require all teachers, regardless of whether they teach in public or private schools, to hold state-issued teaching licenses. However, many states exempt private schools from this requirement. Do you guys see how Scientology gets around everything? It's not hard. And the cults do this as well. All cults. Giving them the autonomy, the carte blanche, to set their own teacher qualification standards. You know, Wally Hanks. Wally Hanks, come to mind, anyone? I got to get a drink of my lemonade. Three, do private schools have to administer state standardized tests? Standardized testing is a hot button issue in education, and parents want to know if their children in private schools will participate. Oh, I remember those. I did well on most of them, but that's a long story. This varies significantly by state. Some states mandate that all schools, including private schools, participate in statewide standardized testing programs. Others leave it up to the discretion of the private school. Parents should inquire about a school's testing policies during the admissions process. And you know what a lot of the wealthy parents do, right? No shade. I'm just saying some of the wealthy parents that aren't ethical. Cha-ching. 4, can private schools receive funding from the state even if they don't have to follow all state guidelines? Oh, this should be interesting. The question of funding often comes up, especially with debates about school choice and voucher programs. There's been a lot of corruption with those voucher schools. It's complex. While private schools primarily rely on tuition and donations, some states offer limited forms of public funding to private schools. This could include vouchers or tax credit programs that allow individuals to direct a portion of their taxes to private schools. The level of state regulation often corresponds to the amount of public funding a private school accepts. 5. What happens if a private school doesn't follow the state guidelines that apply to them? And also, too, I want to add in, who's going to check up on them? Let's just be real. It's always the excuse everyone always hears. There's not enough funding. We don't have enough resources. Every police force in the United States of America. And also, these agencies. We don't have enough resources. So meanwhile, the children just continue to get abused. And I have some more questions about all that stuff. The question addresses accountability and potential consequences. Because, when do we ever get that? Answer. The consequences vary by state and the severity of the violation. In some cases, a state may issue warnings or fines to a private school that fails to meet required standards. In more serious cases, a state could revoke a school's license to operate. I'm going to go look into some of those. However, it's important to note that state oversight of private schools is generally less stringent, so they said carte blanche, than it is for public schools. So that's it, you guys. I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night, wherever you are. Peace.